Hey guys, Brass Facts here. There are a ton of products on the market that have overpromised, underdelivered, or in some cases, not even delivered at all. It's basically the entire motif of every single SHOT Show every year. In other news, I bought a OGL. Yeah, this can't really be a practical review because, as most of you are probably aware, you can't actually buy one of these. Despite being teased as such, this is a military and law enforcement restricted product at this time, and there doesn't seem to be any plans to actually release it to the civilian market. So we're going to kind of go over this in a sort of abridged review. I only had this for about 1,200 rounds. And we're going to kind of see, maybe I guess more so what could have been than it being an actual, product review for something you can buy. Let's get into it.
Some of you might not quite know what the hell I'm talking about, so let's do a bit of recounting. Back in 22 on the Q podcast, Aaron Hampton from Eotech was teasing a bunch of new products they are excited about, one of which was the on-gun laser, or the OGL, which I will now call the OGL from here on out. The more he talked, the more excited the night vision community got. We desperately needed a new laser aiming module to fill a huge hole in the market that was currently not being served. This was a real product, he had it in hand, it seemed to work, it was fully functional, and it was a ground up new laser with modern controls, slated both for the civilian and of course law enforcement and military market. The inclusion of a V-cell emitter on the illuminator all but guaranteed this would fall in the footsteps of the Raid XE and MAL, where they could provide full 50 milliwatt illuminator performance without serious government restrictions. The best part, however, was these were going to be cheap. Really cheap. I mean, at least for a laser.
So what we're looking at for the commercial version is a MSRP of $12.99.
Oh, okay. That's why I see all those Instagram hoes with these, because it's not.
It's
affordable.
not. It is.
Looking at a Jan 2023 release, so only a couple months away. SHOT Show 2023 then came around, and the OGL was the talk of the town. The reps were excited, reaffirming their commitment to the civilian market and how they were absolutely not at all like L3. There were some worrying signs here in the sense that the company was saying their priority was going to be LE military models, but it was clear that they still were very much interested in pushing the civilian variant to the market, looking at sometime Q4 2023.
The standard power is $21.99. It's going to be a lot of the same components, so we would expect commercial is going to be somewhere around there, but we're going to try our best to get it more consumer friendly.
Fantastic.
While the price now at $2,100 for the full power variant would not be an industry trendsetter as it would have been at $1,250, it still would have likely been the go-to LAM on the civilian market. If my Discord was anything to go by, the existence of a potential OGL had ground civilian LAM purchases to a complete halt. Why would anyone buy anything else when a sub $2,000 OGL was just around the corner at quality levels and performance levels that exceeded everything else at the time? The addition of gray variants listing on a ton of various civilian sites like Omaha Outdoors, First Looks from T-Rex Arms, a 1911 Syndicate review, all were enough to keep the hope alive that soon we will have the OGL. But then SHOT Show 2024 came around and still no laser. Worse yet, the booth rep's confidence from 2023 was gone, replaced by shoulder shrugs and frustration of fielding the same question for the 427th time that day. Where is the OGL? Let's cut the story short though. It's been now over 3 years, most websites no longer have a civilian listing, the price has skyrocketed past the original $1,250, then the $2,000, and now we're well past $3,000, making it identically priced with every other laser in the market, and there's still no way to purchase a civilian OGL.
This video is sponsored by Venture Surplus.
That's right, you walked into another ad section. No, you're not allowed to click off of it if it ambushes you. This time we're going to be talking about MREs. So we just did a taste test of MREs because we hate ourselves. Every single type, the standard, cold weather, humanitarian, and the halal. You can go to the Nova Group and check out the results of that complete disaster to see which one was the preferred MRE for the Nova Group, and which one gave us permanent damage to our digestive tract.
I don't think it kind of looks like shit.
Looks exactly like shit.
Except Chris right here, he can drink dirty stream water and be fine. Jokes aside, MREs are great for camping, when you're out shooting, and more. All you need is a small amount of water, or actually not even that. There's really nothing stopping you from just go-gurting the thing. It may not be the tastiest thing ever, but when I'm out and about, I really just care about convenience, and this allows you to eat it all at once or kind of just snack on the entrees throughout the day as you're doing little things, and they basically last forever. Well, they don't. They get kind of nasty, but I mean, they were nasty to begin with, so like, really, what's the difference? Anyways, back to the video.
Good. The lamb is good.
So the funny thing is, despite all of this, the OGL isn't vaporware. I mean, I have one right here. It's not a Z-Bolt ACAL. You can actually buy one of these if you have the proper homey hookup to kind of allow you to get around FDA restrictions. And I got mine for about $32.50, though I think you can get it for slightly cheaper. So once again, for kind of to see what could have been had this thing come out at $12.50, and for those of you with trust fund FAQ monies, well, let's actually get into what this thing can do, how it performs, and if it would have been a cool product had it released.
Most of the OGL mirrors every single military laser you have ever seen. Turn dial for power, now aft, counterclockwise for vis, clockwise for 5 different flavors of IR. It is a hair awkward though, because I think they ran out of space, because the crane plug does actually get in the way of the switch, and is somewhat a pain in the ass to go from vis to IR in the pitch black. Regardless, all of these settings are very basic, where the low modes do double duty as an eye-safe trainer mode, and the high setting is all the chooch, resulting in the usual issues that unrestricted lasers have, where too low is too low and high is too high. Fortunately, the OGL, I said OGL instead of OGL, damn. The OGL tackles this better than most, with a divergent slider on top, which is kind of like a focusing ring, so to speak, so you get very narrow or very wide. And this does double duty to increase or decrease the intensity of illuminator on target without actually changing the power level. It also comes with a pattern generator for the laser itself. Now, these pattern generators are mostly meant to differentiate between a team leader and the rest of the unit, so you can kind of be like, hey, look at my laser. But in practice, at least for civilians, at the ranges where high-power lasers cause insane levels of bloom, the pattern generator actually works to cut down the intensity quite heavily without actually switching from the high mode. If you're really set on not ever wanting to use the full power laser, the OGL can be configured into a medium sort of high mode via button-based programming, though I wish instead we could have used that programming to reprogram the low setting instead. Regardless, with the diffuser and the ability to change divergence, I find myself almost never leaving high mode on this thing. The illuminator itself is fairly crisp, good looking, much like most modern lasers, and the divergence slider goes from a decent flood to a fairly tight focus, but not a pinprick style focus that we've seen, with the PEC 15 and actually the Iris. This is far more useful because even with a magnifier behind it, you're never going to need that level of convergence. And the added flood is nice to have in a CQB setting, though I would argue against a number of people, not actually mandatorily required because IR tends to splash around. Interestingly, the vis on this thing comes fully cracked out on weapons grade meth. It's piss roaring hot to the point where it actually blinds you a bit indoors. I was able to use it as something more than just something to confirm my 0 in dusk settings, and it would actually work well in a lot more conditions as a backup aiming solution. Not just a mantra we keep telling ourselves with the PEC 15s to justify removing our backup irons, when in reality, those Visi lasers are barely visible even in darker conditions. Form factor wise, the OGL was claimed to be about the size of a pack of cards.
Turns out to be about the size of a deck of cards.
Which as a phrase is now becoming a major marketing buzzword, as I swear every single laser from here on out is now being compared to a pack of cards, despite all the lasers and the aforementioned pack of cards being all different sizes. In practice, the OGL is large, really large, and most people that see it are like, wait, what? That's really large. Something I wish was told to me, more whatever, and really only feels small compared to something like a PEC 15, which is, there are certain vehicles that are smaller than a PEC 15. Though, it does have the added upside of being able to use with a front sight block. Now, this video has somewhat of a negative slant to it, a negative vibe, if you were. Though, did you know vibe is short for vibrationals? Yeah, that totally ruined my day when I figured that one out. But anyway, yeah, it has a negative vibe to it. But I'll say quite the opposite. The OGL is actually a very good laser and something that I personally like a lot. In the field of premium full-power lasers, the OGL is actually quite compelling, offering you those number of tricks to kind of tame that full-power laser when you don't want it, while still keeping quick access to it when you do want it. Really only the B.E. Myers Mall offers a compelling sort of package that differentiates it, being sort of a min-max device for nighttime usage. But even then, the OGL is kind of nice as it sits out of the way during the daytime, while still maintaining on board a lot of those quality of life things with the beam divergence at your fingertips.
Okay, that being said, I'm selling this thing the second this video ends. Why? Well, for starters, it's burning a $32.50 hole in my pocket. But more importantly, remember that feature set that Eotech was bragging about? Small as a pack of cards, cheap, V-cell performance with a divergent slider, available to the civilian market. Eotech took so long to release this product, someone else went ahead and did it. Yeah, that's right, the Holosun Iris. In fact, by most metrics, the Holosun Iris has done it better. It's cheaper than even the original OGL price tag, which the OGL is not even close to that. It has debatably a better slider, though it does technically have, I think, a worse divergence pattern. It not only lives up to the hype of as small as a pack of cards, but I would argue the Holosun Iris is almost certainly smaller than any pack of cards I've ever seen. It is the lightest laser aiming module on the market, and yeah, no, that's actually it. I mean, it's a laser box. What else is there?
So yeah, I actually like the OGL, especially the full power version for the aforementioned reasons. But man, I don't like it so much that I can recommend the hypothetical civilian variant over the Holosun Iris when the price difference is going to be like $2,000, and the Iris at minimum is on par, if not a better product than the civilian OGL. Now, I think the last couple of holdouts here are going to pull the Made in China card. Sure, I get that. If you want to support American-made products, or conversely have a gripe with Holosun and their alleged ties to the Chinese military, sure, go for it. I respect the line in the sand, especially since it's going to cost you something like $2,000. But do consider this. I too have no problem paying a little extra for a made-in-America product to support American companies. But I do draw the line when the company in question doesn't support me. And I don't think Eotech does. Now, they try to say all the right things, make the right social media posts, show up on civilian-only podcasts, throw products at influencers, share customer stories. There is without question a huge effort to appear distinct from being another faceless military contractor like L3, and instead insisting that they were going to serve the American Second Amendment community. Oorah, 7076, these colors don't run! But remember, when they had to choose between filling military LE contracts and civilian sales, they, despite their word to the contrary, went all in on the LE military side of things. Now, obviously, a large part of this is that, well, it's a pain in the ass to sell to civilians, especially with FDA-restricted products. And hey, look, civilians are probably not buying 75,000 units of OGLs. But if you want to distill your relationship with your civilian customer base to, well, a financial one, then that exact relationship is going to apply how I view Eotech, as a purely financial one. I'm going to buy the products that I really like, and I'm going to go ahead and ignore the ones that don't really appeal to me or are not a good value proposition. I mean, speaking of which, I think a lot of them really suck and bank on Eotech's good name to sell to those that don't know any better at a really high markup. But yeah, I'm getting pretty carried away from the OGL review. I'm just saying, hey, maybe if the company in question treats you like sloppy seconds as an alternate revenue stream for when their government contracts aren't quite panning out, well, maybe you perhaps don't owe any allegiance to them either. And thanks for listening to my rant and the OGL review. We'll see you guys later.
Nova, come back. Be a mother.
It is the ugliest thing ever.
Nova.
Like, it's so ugly that
Nova, be a...
No. Like,
Come on, Nova. Nova, go say hi. Go say hi. Nova, go say hi. You're such an old woman, you hag.
So now I'm just braided more skin. I'm like, someone's gonna pick that one just for that. And like, I hope that would get home.